Are you feeling the calling to start or grow a business that is so aligned with you and everything that makes up who you are? Do you know that there has to be a way to do this without so much hustle and without chasing the latest shiny object, but you're just not sure how? You can definitely have a dream business that improves, not consumes your life, that allows you to work with soulmate clients while helping you and your family financially and in all ways. You can elevate yourself to be the entrepreneur who has all of her desires. I'm going to show you how on the Elevated Femmes movement. Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Elevated Femmes movement. Julia Hickman, your host here. I'm so happy that you're back listening to another episode. And today what I want to talk about is some of the mistakes that I see people make as entrepreneurs. And I see newer entrepreneurs make this mistake. I also see more advanced, experienced entrepreneurs make this mistake sometimes, especially if they're still not, if they still haven't grasped the concept of like how to use social media in their business. So what I don't want this to do to you is I don't want it to be something that makes you feel bad about yourself. This isn't me being a marketing person pointing fingers and saying, you're doing all the things wrong because I have some shiny object that I want to sell you or tell you about. I don't have any shiny objects to sell. But what I do want for you is I want you to just realize what is actually going on and to think about if spending your time and your resources on certain things is actually moving your bottom line, if it's actually moving the needle forward for you in your business, and to help you do less or to stop doing things altogether if they actually don't matter in the long run for you. So here, let's share a little background with you about me. So if you are new to me, if you're just catching me for the first time, I went to college for business administration. I studied marketing, and back then my dream was to open up my own gym at some point, and didn't do that. Went and worked in a couple of small businesses doing their marketing, and then actually switched gears, worked in retail management. Then I worked for a Forex trading company, and then my last job was in a publishing company. So I've had I guess you could say I've dabbled in a few different industries, and I've had my share of experience watching businesses grow and see how different businesses are run. And there's definitely some things in marketing that don't change, but there's also some things that do. I mean, when I went to school, there was no such thing as social media. There was no such thing as social media marketing, right? So all of that is new. So if you are, my age, like if you're in your late 30s and your 40s or 50s or even older, social media marketing is still like this concept that is just a little bit harder to grasp and to really understand and to really see like, how can this impact my business? So I just want to share that with you, to give you like permission that you don't have to have it all figured out. And it's also something that changes and evolves so often. So even if you do figure it out, it can change, it can change in a week. So I just want to give you like that permission to cut yourself some slack and, realize that no one knows it all anyway. But let's get to some of the things that I see people making in their business, some of the mistakes that I see people making, and I'm going to share what you could actually be doing instead also. So this isn't just, again, to like make you feel bad about yourself, to make you feel wrong. It's about helping you figure out how to use your time more effectively, like where can you actually spend more time, and what is actually going to help you get the result that you want in your business and in your podcast too, right? So one thing I see a lot of times is that people look at the gurus in the online space and they think, well, how can I be doing that in my business? And while this is not completely wrong, it's not completely a mistake, obviously, like, you don't want to reinvent the wheel, right? Like, you want to take tried and tested methods and apply them to your business. But what I mean here is when we think that we have to be like copycats of our coach, for example, or maybe like somebody else in our industry. So, for example, if like, I don't know, Amy Porterfield, I don't know, right? Like, she's somebody that comes to mind who's like in the marketing space. So if I went and I looked at her Instagram, for example, if I went and looked at her Instagram, I don't even know what her Instagram looks like. I actually don't follow her. But let's just pretend. Let's just pretend that she does a ton of reels and TikToks and, a ton of video. I'm sure she probably does. But let's just say that I looked at her account and I said, well, she puts out 3 TikToks a day and 3 reels a day and 5 stories a day. And she does this kind of post every day. So I'm going to do exactly what she's doing. So I take my time, I look at her account, I dissect everything that she's doing, and then I go down the rabbit hole of like figuring out, okay, well, how do I record my reels and my TikToks and my stories, and then how do I like, what are the the filters and the overlays and the fonts, like what should I be using, what's the music that I should be using? Like, that's exhausting just even saying that. So how much time can I possibly waste, going through and trying to figure out all this stuff? And then maybe I start buying a course on this and a course on that. And then I'm, a couple $1,000s that I've spent on stuff that is actually going to help me, right? So that's something that I see people do. And then what I want you to take away from that is, again, I'll go back and I'll say that it's not incorrect to look at somebody and especially if it's like a coach that you're working with, because if you have access to that coach, then you can learn like the behind the scenes of the strategies that they're using and the tactics that they're using. You can ask them, right? I mean, hopefully the coach gives you an answer and you can figure out, okay, why is it that they're doing that? Like, what's the purpose of that? What's the strategy behind that? But if you're just looking at somebody that you are just following and you don't really understand, like you're just sort of seeing the tip of the iceberg, it's really hard to know why they're doing something and how everything is connected behind the scenes in their business. So you can be like spinning your wheels trying to copy something, and then you'll just be super mega frustrated if like it doesn't give you any results, right? So what I recommend in that situation is to take a look, especially if it's a coach that you're working with, ask your questions, like find out why are they doing X, Y, and Z. If it's not a coach that you're working with, take a look and see, okay, well, what is it that they're doing, and how can that fit into your dream business, and how can you apply that to your business so that it gives you the type of lifestyle, the type of life that you want? Because to me, to be honest, I don't want to be spending hours and hours on Instagram, like creating reels and stories and videos and all that kind of stuff. That's just not how I want to spend my time. So I can make the decision. I can say, well, is Instagram the place that I want to spend a lot of time in? Am I getting leads? Am I getting clients from there? If yes, then okay, maybe I do want to spend time and maybe I do want to create content for Instagram, but maybe I want to hire a team. Maybe I want to hire somebody to help me manage that, right? But if the answer is no, I'm not really getting any traction from Instagram, then maybe that's just somewhere where I want to have a presence, but I don't actually want to be spending a lot of time there, right? Does that make sense? Another mistake that I see people make is with their podcasts. So let's talk about podcasts, right? And maybe you don't have a podcast yet, but I think that you can learn from this, and this can help you when you do have your podcast. This can help you, rethink how you want to do things. But again, let's use the example of, the guru. So let's say again that I'm like, okay, what is Amy Porterfield doing on our podcast? And I take a look and I see that she has, tons of interviews, that she does like 3 interviews a month or whatever. And I'm just making this up again. So then I go and I do the same thing, but then I'm like, oh gosh, but like my brand is not really growing. I feel like I'm not elevating my expert status as much as I wanted to. So again, we kind of made the mistake of just copying somebody because we think that they know what they're doing, and they probably do know what they're doing, but it might not apply directly to us, right? So in this case, what I would recommend that you do is, if your goal is to grow your own brand status, having a bunch of interviews is not really the best way to do that. Not saying that guest interviews are wrong. There's definitely a place and a time for those, and I 100% recommend them to my clients. But if your goal is to elevate you and you want people to know who you are, you want to be showing up as the expert. So you want to be the one doing solo interviews and going out there and getting interviewed, right? Or you want to do, I guess I don't want to call them interviews, but you want to have people come onto your podcast that can help you show up as an expert. So I want you to rethink your strategy. If you're doing a bunch of interviews and you're still sort of struggling with feeling like, okay, this is not really, helping me elevate my expert status, I want you to rethink that. And I want you to really take that into consideration. And the last thing that I'll share with you today is another thing that I see people do is they get really caught up on the numbers, and the vanity numbers is what I'm really referring to here, because obviously we want to pay attention to numbers, and I believe that what we measure grows. So it's important to track things, and it's important to look at things. Obviously, if you want to increase your income, you need to be looking at your income and your expenses, and you need to be familiar with those numbers. So same thing, for example, if you want your social media platforms or your podcast to grow, you need to be tracking your KPIs, you need to be tracking your numbers and looking at them. But what I don't want you to do is to become obsessed. And I don't want you to be like, okay, well, my posts only get like 5 likes and so gets like 500 likes. And, they have these videos that go viral, and nothing of mine ever goes viral. So my question would be, is your goal to be an influencer? Because if you're an influencer, then viral content and tons of likes and tons of, comments do matter, right? Because you want to be able to show a brand very openly that people resonate with your content. But if you're a coach, if you are a consultant, if you're a service provider, you don't need that. Your people might be watching you silently behind the scenes, and they're going to let you know when they're ready to purchase from you. Not to say that they might not also, engage with you before they buy, but I've had it happen to me so many times that clients are usually people that have never, stalked my content, right? Or maybe they have it, but silently, right? They're not usually the ones who are commenting all the time. So these are just things that I want you to think about, especially, Q1 of this brand new year. This is your chance to change your mindset a little bit, to think about the things that you are letting yourself get stressed out about, and to consider if those are things that are really making a difference in your business in the long run. And what are the things that you do want to be focusing on? What are the things that you enjoy doing that can help you grow your business, grow your brand, elevate your expert status? Think about those things and focus more on those things. So if you have been thinking about having a podcast, I would love to chat with you if you're ready, if you know that this year, maybe Q1, maybe Q2, who knows, sometime this year is your year to start a podcast, to add podcast host to one of your titles, to your resume. Then let's have a conversation. Let's see if we are a good fit to work together. There is a link to book a free call with me right in the show notes. If not, you can always find me you can come on over to Instagram or even Facebook and say hello, and I can share the link with you there. But thank you so much for listening today. I hope that you have a great day, and I will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Elevated Femmes movement. I would love to hear your thoughts on the podcast, so please leave us a review. If you know someone who could benefit from the episodes on the show, please please share it with them. We need more women elevating to their highest potential, enjoying all the great things in life, having plenty of time freedom for their children and loved ones, while growing a business that improves, not consumes, their life, and doing things in a smarter, not harder way. To connect with me and download my free resources, please go to www.juliamhickman.com.